You're listening to the Screeners Podcast Network.
From the big screen to the small screen and everything in between, this is the Screeners Podcast, where all media is appreciated, but none is safe.
Well, hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Screeners Podcast. My name is Chris.
And I am Daniel.
And that's everybody.
All right.
It's just the two of us today to talk about this awesome movie, and I cannot wait to dive in. But before we do, I wanted to invite everyone who's listening to please join in the conversation on Facebook. We'd love to hear from you guys about what you thought about this week's movie, and that is Rampage.
It's weird. You like hang out with animals more than people.
Yeah, well, animals get me. I rescued George when he was 2 years old. George never would have survived on his own.
He definitely trusts you.
Last night, George was 7 feet and he weighed 500 pounds. George, you okay, buddy? You're scared. It's okay. This morning, he's 9 feet, pushing 1,000. What's happening to my friend?
Are you familiar with genetic editing? Changes will be incredibly unpredictable.
Is he the only one?
Oh, you didn't know about the 30-foot wolf?
Chris, why in the world did more people not join us for this review? I'm a little ticked off.
It does not make any sense whatsoever. It's almost as if they just thought this movie looked silly and was just going to be, really, really dumb.
I'm going to have a hard time not taking that personally.
Me too.
It's just, Rampage is from director Brad Payton. It of course stars Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
The Rock.
In these movies, he adds The Rock. In other movies, he takes it out when he's more serious.
That's right.
I mentioned that specifically because these two paired up on their previous film, which was a tiny little indie film called San Andreas. And you may, if you've listened to the Screeners podcasts in the past, since I've joined the show a few years ago, you may have heard us talk about this film here or there. I'm not
a few times.
I'm not sure why.
I don't either, man. It just doesn't make any sense. It feels like somebody's picking on you, is what it really feels like.
I think that's
not me. It's not me.
Oh, certainly not you. Okay, sarcasm over. The real thing about San Andreas and the Screeners podcast is that,
of course,
the real backstory is that we did a summer wrap-up of 2015, and we were talking about movies that were pleasant surprises from that summer. And I mentioned San Andreas. And for some reason, my other co-hosts have latched onto that as though San Andreas is one of my favorite films of all time, which it is not. But
wait a minute, are you serious? I thought it really was.
It's really not. It's really not.
Oh man,
see,
bummer.
This whole thing has grown a life of its own.
I feel like you're saying that this is fake news and that we've somehow just made all this up for just our enjoyment, is what it sounds like you're accusing us of. And surely we wouldn't do that to you. That can't possibly be right.
But I do like San Andreas well enough. I think it's a perfectly enjoyable film, and so that's why we knew we had to review Rampage, because San Andreas just holds a special place in the Screeners podcast heart. Yeah. And so this is not a sequel by any means, but it's a follow-up for sure. And you actually can go back and listen. We did a bonus episode where we reviewed San Andreas because I kept getting made fun of for saying it was a pleasant surprise. And to my surprise, all of the screeners, even Josh, were surprised at how much they enjoyed San Andreas. So
it was enjoyable silliness.
Yes. And so that's what we expect going into Rampage.
Yep.
Chris, why don't you start us off? What did you think of Rampage?
Me and Rampage go way back. I'm not gonna lie. I loved this video game. I honestly think this may be the best video game movie ever made.
Whoa!
It knows exactly what it is. It is dumb. It is silly. It is over the top. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, man, he's got some charisma happening, And I enjoyed myself in this. I saw this with my dad this afternoon, actually. And he and I grew up in the 90s. We'd see these crazy, silly movies. He was the one who snuck me in when my mom said no to see Jurassic Park, which changed my life. And so we love these kind of crazy, out there, nuts, just, whatever, testosterone filled films. And this is one of them. It is dumb. There is no doubt this is not winning any Academy Awards, although it has some really good visual effects. It's just a crazy, silly romp, and I had a good time with it. I think it may be one of the very best video game adaptations to film, just because it knows what it is. The worst part of this movie, honestly, is the story, them trying to make it work. The villains are not very good, especially the guy. I don't know who he is.
Jake Lacey.
He for me, just that character just didn't sell it at all. It was way too whatever. I don't know, over the top, or mustache twirly, quirky. Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, he wasn't really mustache twirly. He was more quirky. That didn't work for me. But when it came to following The Rock around with an ape and crazy cowboy federal agents, it was dumb. It was so dumb, but I liked it. I had a good time. So how about you, man? What did you think of Rampage? Did this live up to San Andreas?
Well, so to give my full opinion on Rampage, I feel like I need to specifically talk about what I enjoyed about San Andreas.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. We're going to go into a deep dive here.
We are.
We're going to
We're going to go back in time.
Okay.
To ye old days of 2015 when San Andreas was released. So the reason I like San Andreas is I love disaster movies. I think disaster movies can be a lot of fun. They're big, they're ridiculous, and specifically with disaster movies, there's just the tiniest bit of maybe this could happen, right? There's the hint of realism. It's stupid and dumb and silly, but maybe it could happen, right? Maybe
no, Daniel.
Yes, maybe a series of earthquakes could basically destroy all of California. Maybe.
No. The San Andreas. No. What are you doing right now?
No,
this is not.
I'm sticking with that opinion. So
okay.
So there's
right.
the tiniest hint of okay, maybe. And it's just crazy action. It's ridiculous and dumb. But
I'm sorry. The plot of San Andreas is just as likely to happen as the plot of Rampage.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
In fact, Rampage is more likely, in my opinion.
Oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. But anyway,
I'm going to send you an article, Dana.
So anyway, so and then you throw in The Rock and you throw in crazy action, and you have a fun, light movie, right? Okay, so that's why I like San Andreas, and that's why I like disaster movies in general. I really I love disaster movies. I think they're great.
Yeah.
And so that's what I hope for going into Rampage, especially since it had the same director and star as San Andreas. There's some good things and there's some bad things. Good thing is it's hard to hate The Rock. I mean, it just really is. I don't know how he does it, but he's just the most charismatic person, I think, that has ever been in Hollywood. He's just so much fun to watch. Even in stupid movies, I really find it difficult to complain about him.
Right.
And even in this movie, they tried, which I think was a stupid thing. His character was supposed to be not a people person and not talkative. And I'm like,
that was so dumb.
Guys,
I was
he seems like he would be a joy to be around. What are you talking about?
That's true.
So they can't hide his charisma even when they try. So he's great. So it's hard to hate the star of this movie. Another good thing, there's something mesmerizing about watching a freaking giant gorilla and a giant wolf porcupine flying creature terrorize a city. It's fun. It's fun to watch. There's this sequence where they're going across a bridge. The creatures are going across a bridge, and they're systematically taking tanks and throwing them into helicopters, and it's just nuts.
It's directly from the silly video game that I played in the arcade and on my NES growing up. I mean, that is literally. I remember doing these things, grabbing cars and trying to throw them up and hit the helicopters. I mean, it made me want to play that video game so bad. I did not feel the same way in Tomb Raider, honestly. I didn't feel the same way in Assassin's Creed, but for some reason I came out of this film thinking, man, I really want to play that video game again.
Well, So those are the good things. For me, the bad thing is exactly what you said. The story is dumb and forgettable.
So bad.
The villains are the worst part of this movie. And, Malin Ackerman and Jake Lacy, I mean, the characters are just so stupid.
And it's so crazy, too, because Malin Ackerman is such a great actress. She's great in Billions. She's been good in many other films. It just seems so weird that
it's poor writing. I mean, I literally don't give
totally.
a crap about what they're doing, and I don't think their performances are necessarily bad. I mean, it's just hard to separate them from crappy writing. They're just dumb characters to be around anyway.
This movie would not have suffered if those characters were not in the movie at all.
Right.
Like there's literally no reason for them to exist.
And that's why I prefer disaster movies. Now, the occasional disaster movie has a villain, but largely the main antagonist, if you will, is just the event,
nature
the
itself.
nature. Yeah. So as stupid as that sounds, yes. And so in this movie, that's not the case. The main villain is not the wolf or the gorilla or whatever it is. It's these two dumb characters that want to. I don't even know what they want to do. All we know is from the very first scene that they're in, Jake Lacy's character says something like, "We didn't do it for the good betterment of humanity." Like he just tells you, "Hey, we're villains, just FYI."
Yeah, and there's literally they don't ever give, like you said, a reason for what they are doing.
No.
Like not only does it not make sense, the technology that they have built, like the genetic manipulation, what is the end game of that?
Yeah,
what was it supposed to be? They never explain that at all. They never explain why they think it's a good thing other than just to get a sample of them to draw them into the city. Why wouldn't they do that someplace, you know what I mean? Like it made no sense. Logical sense at all. That because if their plan was let the military take it down, it seemed like the military was going to do that even if they came to the city or not.
Right.
Like it was just a little odd to me that they felt like this is the best plan. All it was, again, was a reason to get these three creatures into a city destroying things. How can we do that the fastest? Okay, here's this thing that makes no sense, but we're going to use it because.
And therein lies my biggest problem with this whole film is that it's simply there is no story here that matters. I don't care about the story. It was boring. It was forgettable. There was nothing interesting about it. In fact, it was annoying. And so it does.
Oh, come on! It wasn't that annoying.
It was. It was annoying. And so even though the action is fun and enjoyable to watch, there wasn't. It didn't balance out enough. The bad story and the forgettable story outweighed it. And so unfortunately, I do have to give this film a negative review. It just can't. The good action can't overcome the crappy story in this case. And don't get me wrong, this movie is not horrible. You know, it's fine if you want to shut your mind off and watch this one. But I just feel like there's so many better movies that do this sort of thing, including San Andreas, that this one just did not work for me at all. I just was bored. I was bored.
Daniel, there are no better movies. I'm sorry. There are no better movies.
This is the number one.
This is the movie, and it's all you have. And I'm sorry.
I just feel so. I felt like this movie was so empty. You know, it was just empty.
I had a good time with the relationship between George and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I don't even. It's so funny. His character's name. I feel like the actors even had a difficult time saying his last name because they would oftentimes, whenever they said his name, would cut away and it would be in like ADR, whatever his name is, Koye. Yeah. So anyway, I agree with you. This movie is stupid. It really is. But I don't know. I had a silly, fun, whatever it was, tween reaction to it. And like you said, you can turn off your mind and just say, okay, I'm just going to take it for what it is. Look, this has a flying wolf in it, guys. A flying giant porcupine wolf. Okay. So if you're going to have an issue with that, this movie is not for you. It just won't be. But if you're looking for, something with, giant creatures, I mean, this is much better than Pacific Rim. It's much better than Pacific Rim Uprising, in my opinion. If you're going to see giant creatures fighting in a city, I enjoyed this immensely more than I did those two films. This is my opinion, I know, but it's the same kind of dumbness. And the thing that's holding it all together, I think, is infinitely more watchable, and that is The Rock. And so if you're looking for, a fun, charismatic character to kind of just have a good time with, hang out with a buddy, and just kind of do some silly stuff for an hour and a half, you can do a lot worse than this movie, in my opinion. I think it actually is quite silly, stupid, fun with somebody you'd like to actually hang out with, unlike a lot of films like this where I don't want to hang out with any of those characters for an hour and a half, and I'm kind of rolling my eyes the entire time. This time, I'm rolling my eyes, but I feel like I'm safe with The Rock. So that's what I feel
the
like.
comparisons to Pacific Rim are actually interesting. I like Pacific Rim a lot better, for sure. Pacific Rim Uprising, that's a tough battle between these two movies because they're similar in so many ways. Obviously, the giant monster thing, but also John Boyega was probably the best part of that movie because he's charismatic and fun to be around. Yep. So it's just interesting that they're so similar. I don't know. I think this one looks a lot better than Pacific Rim Uprising. I think the visual effects are a lot better. The visual style is a lot more interesting. Instead of that just bright, multicolor kind of look that they had going on throughout Pacific Rim Uprising, this one had, I don't know, it just felt like it had more of a look. Not that it's a good-looking movie by any means, but the visual effects work. They work for what they're supposed to be. So yeah, that's an interesting comparison. I think I guess I would prefer Rampage to Uprising, but not by a lot.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. These movies are just I don't know. It's just not good enough. I think you can have the stupid action and have a at least workable story. And this one just doesn't have it.
It's an interesting point to make. I don't know that the story is what they were going for. I really do feel like it was like there's a set action piece they wanted to get to. They had like 4 of them laid out, and they said, how can we get from A to B to C?
Sure.
I think if you're doing that way, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It wasn't. That's why I like it, because it's not trying to be more than that. Honestly, like if they tried to be like pull on the heartstring, I mean, there are a lot of just wink, wink, nudge, nudges towards the camera in this film. I mean, and I think that's fine. I mean, it knows what it's doing.
I can't argue with that. I do think that the movie knows what it is, so I really can't argue with that. I just think I need more is all. So, which
sure.
It is what it is. Again, I'm not gonna. You can do worse than this movie. You can do a lot worse. You can do better, but you can also do worse. So
I just realized Carlton Cuse was a screenwriter on this.
Oh, boy.
Carlton Cuse from Lost. You know what we're talking?
Where's he
been?
What I'm talking?
He did the Bates Motel series, and I feel like he's working on something else the Jack Ryan series.
Interesting.
For Amazon. I wonder why do you need a screenwriter for this? I don't know. He was also screenwriter for San Andreas, dude.
Oh, wow.
Wow. This is blowing my mind right now. This is how he pays the bills. Wow. That's crazy.
Well, do we need to go into spoilers for this movie?
No. No, we've already talked about the last set piece. No, look, the entire movie is contained in the trailer. If you've seen the trailer for this movie, you've seen the beginning, the middle, and the end. You can probably put it together. There's not much story or plot here that you're missing.
Well, one thing I wanted to, yeah, you're right. I'm not even going to make a spoilers apology. I'm going to talk a little bit about the end sequence, but it's not going to ruin the movie for you at all, even if you haven't seen it. So I thought it was hilarious how they were trying to shoehorn The Rock into like the final climactic battle, and like he serves no purpose in that last battle. He's in the way, if anything. He's standing there by himself, like trying to facilitate this fight between the gigantic gorilla and gigantic wolf, and it's just hilarious.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I thought the same exact thing. I was like, why is he here
just
right now?
Go away.
You're getting in the way. Like literally, it's like a escort mission in a video game where you're like, dude, just let me do my job and get out of my way so I'm not having to protect you this entire time.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about this movie. I mean, it's very empty. It's decent, enjoyable action, but not much else.
Agreed. I totally agree. I just come down on a different side than you do about that. Like, I think it's enjoyable if you're looking for that. And this is, like I said before, this is not trying to rise above that. It is literally just that. And if you're looking for it, you will find it here. And it's you could do a lot worse. There are some that are bad movies. Like you watch an action film and it's just a bad film. It's not put together well. The acting's not great. The visual effects are all the pieces, and you just kind of feel like, why am I watching this? I never felt that way.
Okay.
Rampage.
I have to say, I came close, and here's a few things I neglected to mention. The things that got on my nerves. We already talked about the villains, who were super annoying and like just projecting. They wanted you to know they were villains. He was eating a Pop-Tart with a freaking cloth napkin for some weird reason. Good. It's like, what are you doing, man?
That was the worst, man. I'm telling you.
So weird.
You just, because he's like a man child.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what they were trying to,
So weird. And then I also really was annoyed with Jeffrey Dean Morgan's, not so much the character, but his performance, because it was just so cliche. And I have seen this a million times where he's the down home Southern villain who's gonna like, it was just, come on. I appreciated, I guess, a few of the kind of twists that they had with that character, but his performance specifically got on my nerves. I was just so unoriginal. And I don't know if that's his fault necessarily or the direction or what, but it annoyed the crap out of me. Did you feel that at all?
Yeah, a little, but I genuinely thought it was they wanted they wanted him to be that. Like, they wanted him to be kind of unlikable and just someone that was going to be a foil and not get on board. And then I don't know. I think they did a fairly good job with it. I agree with you that the accent and the attitude was a little over the top, but so was the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
He's not a bad actor. Okay. Like I genuinely think this was a choice.
Oh, of course.
And I don't know if it worked, but I still think it wasn't awful. It didn't take me out of the movie, or it didn't take me to the point where I was like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. So yeah. All
right. Fair enough. Well, I guess we need to give our recommendations on whether people should see this. We usually go around. We say if you should see it in the theater, if you should rent it, if you should stream it on a platform you already have, Netflix, Amazon, whatever, or if you should just skip it altogether. I think I know where you're going to land on this, but Chris, what do you say?
No, I mean, honestly, this is not necessarily a theater movie. You can definitely enjoy this at home. If you got a decent surround sound system and a big screen television at home, renting this or waiting for it to be on Netflix, I think, is a fine choice. If you've got a movie pass, go see Rampage. That's what I did. I didn't pay for this movie. I'd say that's, if a couple bucks to rent or, waiting until you've got it on a service that you already pay for, I think it's worth seeing, especially if you've got a good setup. Otherwise, it's fine. You can skip it if you don't feel like this is the kind of movie for you, but I would recommend that you stream it at some point.
You covered the whole you said if you see if you have movie pass, see it in theaters. If you said you got a good setup, rent it. Anyway,
here's how I'd say it. If you're wait until you can see it with a service you already pay for. So wait until you can see it with Netflix or if you have Movie Pass. So if you got Movie Pass, you're already paying for it, might as well see it. It's worth seeing. Wait until Netflix. Just don't pay for the film, I would say.
All right, fair enough.
There's my point.
Yeah, I would say I guess I agree. I think streaming it is just fine. I just feel like if you're going to watch this at home with distractions, you're going to like it even less than I did in the theater. I just feel like it's a forgettable story. The action's fine, but the action didn't even take it over the top for me seeing it in the theater. So if you're seeing it at home, I feel like you'll like it even less. But I'll still say stream it, but it's not a very high recommendation because I think you can do better with other films. I'm sorry to the Screeners fans who have been with us for a while, who were hoping I would just be over the moon about this movie, but I really can't get there, so I apologize.
You're trying to save your film your cinematic integrity by not admitting that you loved this movie, and that's okay.
What integrity do I have, Chris?
You're right. You don't have any integrity. None of us do, especially me.
So the way we started this whole San Andreas joke that led us here today was it was at the end of our summer movie wager, kind of our wrap-up episode in 2015. And, we're in mid to late April right now. And so coming up is our 2018 summer movie wager, where we're going to, place our bets as screeners on what we think is going to do well at the domestic box office this year. I have no idea. I haven't even done. Have you done any research for this yet?
I mean, I think there's a kind of a no-brainer number one, but all the others I'm not entirely sure on.
I'm curious. I think there are two that could vie for the. I'm curious. What do you think is the no-brainer? Or are you not going to let me on?
Infinity War is going to be the number one movie this year. There's not even a small doubt that that's going to kill at the box office.
Of course, but I think Solo is going to give it a run for its money, as is Incredibles 2, because I don't think Avengers Infinity War is going to do as well as Black Panther, which...
Okay, we should save this. We should save all of this.
All right.
We will talk about it later, but I know that I'm right, and that's okay. It's all good.
Okay, well then we will plug our summer movie wager episode right now. That's going to come up in just a few weeks. We're not very far away from it, so make sure you listen to that episode, and you will hear this full debate there. All right, well, thanks for tuning in for this bonus review of Rampage. I'm shocked that Chad and Josh and Melody weren't here for this episode, but I don't blame them for not wanting to see the film. As always, you can follow us on social media. On Facebook, search The Screeners Podcast. On Twitter, @ScreenersCast. We want to hear from you. Let us know what you're watching, and make sure you tune in to our Summer Movie Wager episode coming up soon. We'll see you next time.
And that's a wrap. You've heard what the screeners had to say. Now you be the critic. Head over to screenerspodcast.com and let us know what you think. See you next time.